sit down, have a coffee, because I've got lots to tell you. What a week this has been. On Tuesday, I was on 5 Live analysing the Champions League games, including and especially the Arsenal Atletico Madrid, and I had a very damning conclusions about Atletico Madrid, and I still stand by it.
It was pretty even, right up, well, maybe up until just before that first goal.
It was Martinelli's fault on Llorente and not the other way around. Now, I keep saying this because everything had to go Atletico Madrid way for them to get something out of it. Absolutely everything, including, as managers call it, the little details. It should have been given a foul to Atletico Madrid. But you all given too much credit to Atletico Madrid. Maybe because you didn't expect them to play this way at the Emirates. The first goal came in the minute 56. So it wasn't that, it was in the last 10 minutes that they collapsed. They collapsed less than an hour of game played. And then once that happened, in 30 minutes, they conceded all the 3 goals. You're talking about a team that's supposed to, with 100 million net spent this year and 168 million with the players they've got, to actually be at another level, but they just don't have enough goals in them. They just don't defend enough. They're not mature enough, haven't got the personality to change things around or slow things around. They conceded 1-0 and you think, okay, the old Atletico Madrid, if you like, it would have been, there's no more game until we decide there is a game. None of that. So, yeah, you're very generous, but destroy Atletico Madrid with me, please, because they deserve it.
Wednesday, it wasn't much of the day. Again, every time I've been there, and I don't know, it's the 3rd, 4th time, it's like the first time, first of all, I was with Stephen Warnock and Andy Cole. I made them laugh once or twice, especially when I was talking about the fact that English sides have got so much money, they have to have 5 teams in the quarterfinals.
With the money you've got, with having some of the best managers around, with some of the best youngsters around, and we mentioned Chelsea being a young squad, with a lot of very good decisions in the market, you're going to have 5 teams in the quarterfinals, 3 in the semi-finals, 2 in the final. Anything else, it's a failure.
And you can hear the laugh of Mark Chapman, especially when I told them about what Lamine Yamal calls Marcus Rashford.
We saw Lamine Yamal calling him, yo soy tu papá chuche, so he learned that first, which means I'm your daddy, sweet, whatever. Lamine, who, by the way, when he found out that Barcelona were interested in Russia, he said, get him, because he used to play him in the PlayStation.
Yeah.
I said, you're so good at it, it's so fast.
I also did 2 very interesting podcasts. The one that Tim Bickery has got, where we talked about the Miami game. I completely agree with the idea. Because what are we going to do? We're actually telling the whole world to be a fans of La Liga and buy the t-shirts and consume La Liga and pay for the television rights, etc. But don't you ever think that we're going to take a game to you? Because where are you? You're in the other side of the world. And I'm thinking, why not? I'm thinking, why not try that thing? Why not just go and see what happens? And the other podcast has to do with the Clasico, but from a historical point of view. Paul Hayward and Mark Pugash have got this lovely podcast that looks back at football from a historic point of view. And I debunked a couple of myths, well, more than 2 actually, of a Clasico. Things that you think you know, but actually it's not as you think. It's not as you think, or it's not as you know.
You call it El Clásico, and we all call it El Clásico, as if this game was born with that name. Somebody's got to baptize that match. Who do you think it was, and what time in history? Alfredo Relaño is one of the masters of journalism. I'm sure you met him, Paul.
Yeah.
So he was the boss of El País, forward-thinking newspaper, Canal Plus, which again, for the first time, charged Spanish people to watch football. So then he had to decorate it with stories, with programming, etc., and help if he put tag to things. So he, in the 90s, called Barcelona and Real Madrid El Clásico for the first time. And that's perhaps the first surprise. In the 90s.
Wow.
Also something big happened, of course. Messi renewed his contract 3 years, and that means he's going to be in the World Cup, and he's going to be as well in the next Copa America. So we have still, even though there was tears when he played in Argentina last, with Argentina, Actually, I was convinced there's going to be more games of Messi in Argentina with the national side.
You bring in someone like Leo, a few years ago, like we did, and then you have him stay for the rest of his career. That says something about the club, it says something about the city, but what it says is about Leo's commitment. The fact that Leo loves the city, he loves Miami, he loves playing in the MLS, he loves being in Miami and loves this club. It's a very special moment for us.
Bueno, la verdad que es una alegría poder seguir continuando acá. Empezamos desde el principio, por decirlo de alguna manera, con este sueño, con este estadio, y poder ser parte, poder jugar en este estadio y vivirlo desde adentro. La verdad que es muy lindo. Soy feliz desde que llegué en este lugar, así que muy contento de continuar.
But have a sip of your coffee, because next we're going to talk about El Clasico. The game on Sunday finds both teams not in their best form for different reasons. Hansi Flick hasn't found yet the tightness of the pressure high, which is absolutely crucial for this style of Hansi Flick that loves, of course, pressure high, and once you recover the ball, go and attack. And also he hasn't had Lamine Yamal, Rafinha and Lewandowski together, absolutely crucial for them last season, for more than 200 minutes this season because of injuries. But the one that's actually saving them the season, if you like, in some ways, is Marcus Rashford. He's got now 5 goals, 6 assists, played as a 9 on the left-hand side. He's making a difference with the ball. Without the ball, I go back to this concept that the pressure is not as tight from the midfield and the attack, so it's easier to actually use the huge amount of space that the high defensive line leaves of Barcelona. Girona had the opportunity to scare Barcelona, and he needed a goal in the last few seconds from Araujo, reconverted into centre forward. And then of course Olympiacos, also before the Hesse sending off, unfair, that second yellow. They also knew how to attack this defense of Barcelona. So it won't be sorted in one game. It will be sorted in the medium term, you would think, but that's an opportunity for Real Madrid. But Real Madrid are finding this transition between a team based in individuals to a collective one that looks for answers in the collective. They're finding it difficult. They're still not fluid football. Against Juventus, the first 15 minutes of the game, Juventus had 1 or 2 opportunities, needed Courtois to save them. Minute 50, Blaovic in a 1v1 with the goalkeeper because Militao couldn't stop him. Needed again a miracle save from Courtois in his 300th game with Real Madrid. He's the best goalkeeper in the world, has been for a long while, proved it again against Juventus. But as I was saying, he needed Courtois because this Real Madrid is still not hitting all cylinders. The best midfield that Xabi Alonso has found for what he wants to do, control, transition as well, but control and playing between the lines, eventually finding Mbappe or Vinicius, is Tchouaméni, Bellingham, who scored against Juventus. You started seeing glimpses of the best Bellingham, but still a long way to get there. And Gula. The problem I see is that Gula and Bellingham play in similar roles, and right now Bellingham is in a crucial part of his career because he's got 2 managers that are asking him to do less, to do more. And that means to stick in an area of the pitch, and it's not natural for him to do that. He wants to be involved in everything, so he's going to have to reduce his area of influence to be a better player. Xabi Alonso, and I think Tuchel as well, want him to be closer to the forwards, while others, Tchouaméni and Gula, get the ball to him. Trent may be ready for the game, but Carvajal seems fitter as well, and I still think that Valverde will probably be used on the right-hand side of the defence. Valverde is struggling with this system that has got to do with passing and being patient. He's box-to-box midfielder, so things still to be adjusted. Meanwhile, Mbappe has scored 15 goals in 12 games, so a goal per game plus, and that is, I think, something that I also explained in much of the day, as you've seen.
That is not an accident, that is a trend. There's going to be more and more strikers scoring these kind of goals, 1 goal per game, and it comes on the back of there's more man marking which if you beat your mark, there's a lot of space. There's more building from the back and mistakes that produce a lot of space as well. There's more individual coaching. There's a lot of coaching on organized attack when you get a defense that's very tight, and that's water for the strikers. And generally feels that obviously the players are fitter, more intelligent, and prepare themselves better. You prepare yourself very well.
What are you trying to say?
Let me focus on a couple of heroes that perhaps you didn't expect to be so important at this stage of the season for both sides. Fermín López scoring the first hat-trick for a Spanish side, for a Spanish player in the Champions League for the first time in like almost 40 years. It's just so important for Barcelona. And that's why Chelsea wanted him. The story of Fermín going to Chelsea is that Chelsea were interested, but they realized very quickly that Barcelona did not want to sell, and yet the stories that were coming, leaked by the club, were that, well, if Fermín wants to go, it'd be a lot of money coming in because he was a player from the academy. Eventually Fermín said, no, I'm staying. So from the Chelsea's point of view, the story didn't go very far, but Barcelona played with the idea of selling him. But it's so important. In the time since he's been in the first team, he averages a goal every 180 minutes. Do you know who that equals? Steven Gerrard, Bruno Fernandes. So he's a midfielder that scores, a midfielder that gets into the box, and a midfielder that adds something that Barcelona don't have. Fermín is growing. It will be very important for Spain as well. And Arda Güler already touched on it. It's the midfielder chosen by Xabi Alonso to control games, but he's more than a forward than a midfielder. For what Xabi Alonso wants to do, I don't think he's got the midfielders for it. You require somebody that switches, that passes short, that wants the ball, that breaks lines of defense, that pressures high straight away. Arda Güler suffers without the ball. You know, Zubimendi, a Rodri, he hasn't got that, so he's trying to make up with sometimes a double pivot, like it could be against Barcelona, Camavinga and Tchouaméni, other times with Tchouaméni, Bellingham and Arda Güler, which I think is the one that's going to be the favourite for Xabi Alonso. But they got to prove they can do it against the bigger sides. The two defeats of Xabi Alonso in charge of Real Madrid, a massive one against PSG and a massive one against Atletico Madrid. This season, they're all wins, and only one defeat, the one against Atletico Madrid. But still, there are doubts about what Real Madrid can do, even though they top of the table in the Champions League and top of the table in La Liga. Those are the demands of this team, but especially because it's transitioning into something else that hasn't been fully formed yet. Lamine Mbappé is the other talking point, and do you know what's interesting? Out of the 8 times in which Lamine and Mbappé have found each other, either with PSG or France and Real Madrid, Barcelona and Spain in the case of Lamine, 7 wins to Lamine, 1 to Mbappé. But 8 goals of Mbappé and 6 of Lamine on those encounters. So if there will be eyes on them, Mbappé now finds that this is his team, basically, that he will take the penalties unless he decides to give it to somebody. The team plays for his strengths. If he wants to go on the left, everybody's got to adjust. He certainly starts, and the likes of Vini have to adapt to Mbappé, and it's only right that happens. He's been bought and has cost a lot of money with the intention of being Mbappe's team. Now, can Mbappe's team win the Champions League? They've shown that they can compete, but they haven't won last season with him the big titles. And now that it's been transformed into Mbappe's side, let's see if they can do it with him. Lamine's still not at his best. He's still recovering his form, match fitness. He's okay physically, but he wants to not only have those 2 or 3 moments of magic that he always gives us, but have continuity in how he performs and affects the side. And we're still not there yet. That's why this Clasico is a little bit uncertain, and uncertainty is good, because I feel they both want to go for it. Defeat creates crisis for a long time. Victory gives you credit for a long time as well. So it is one of those games that perhaps will not decide a title, but will give us a lot to talk about. And I will be doing it from Dublin for Premier Sports. So in the UK, that's where you'll be able to watch El Clasico, which in British summertime, or whatever it is called, the time in England, in the UK now, will be 3:15 p.m. on Sunday. See you there.